And then now I'm gonna give you the before and after. What's cracking, boys and girls? It's your boy Mello back again with another video. This video is long overdue, but I decided to pull my finger out of my ass and just send it. In one of my previous videos, I show you a couple of tips and tricks on shooting low light and neon portraits. In this video, however, I'm going to show you how to edit them. Now, there's no hard and fast rules with neon portraits, but I'm going to show you what I look out for and what I do to achieve the look I want. So let's get it. Alright, so we've got a portrait of Grace standing next to the El Camino sign in Brisbane. This is one of my more iconic neon shots, I guess. Now with neons, I always aim to correct the skin colors. Why? Because blue skin sucks. And actually, in fact, it's one of the hardest things to do. Like for example, my shot with Grace with the Mario Kart icons, or my Adobe theme shoot with Amanda. To convert the blue skin into regular looking skin tones is super hard. And I'll probably make a separate video for that because it takes ages. Now, clearly the whole image is really warm. So I'm gonna try and correct the skin tones by pulling it back to a colder sort of white balance, right? So I'll go up to the white balance and I'll slide this temperature all the way down to a nice cold color. Now that's still not enough, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to the yellows of her skin and I'm gonna correct it to orange, because every skin tone is gonna be slightly orange or a tone color of orange. Now that's the key with every skin tone, is that you try and bring back some of the orange or play around with the orange to adjust the skin tone. So I'm gonna go to the HSLs and I'm gonna shift the yellow to the more orange range, because skin tones are a variation of orange. Now, you'll see my panel shows all hue, saturation, and luminance. That's how I usually adjust. But otherwise, yeah, you'll probably have this as your regular default. I just usually have it as all because I know I'm gonna fiddle around with HSL. So back on topic, I'm gonna go back to the yellow and I am gonna go slide it towards the orange, not too much. Now this is a bit too orange, and you'll notice that if I slide it back, it's also too yellow. So what I'm gonna do is I'll go to the camera calibration and I'm gonna start injecting a bit of red in the primary, red primary. See, that looks a lot better already. Now it's a bit desaturated, right? So now I'm gonna add a bit more saturation into the yellow. And I'm also gonna add a bit more orange as well. Not too much. And then I'm gonna adjust this red because the pinks are kind of getting a bit too pink for me. Now you'll see under her chin, it's a bit green, right? And there's green highlights everywhere and it's sort of casting like this patchy color on her skin. So what I'll do is I'll go to the greens. I'm just gonna shift that towards the yellow. Notice how it's already coming back. And I will probably desaturate it a tiny bit. Now I still don't like the skin color, so I'm gonna add a bit more orange in the yellows. Maybe saturate it a little bit more. Then I'm gonna go to the blues and I'm gonna adjust it to a more of a tealish color, and same goes with the aquas. Then I'm gonna go to luminance and brighten up her face. Because it's primarily orange, we focus on the orange luminance. But not too much because you don't want to blow out the highlights. Next we go to the yellow and we do the same thing. I might add a bit more red in the primary because I'm not too satisfied with the skin tone. So I'm gonna saturate it a little bit. Next I'm gonna add a bit of tint to counteract too much of that warmer yellow tint. It's real fiddly, so I'm gonna go -5. Nope. Maybe -10. Nope. -8. Next I'm gonna add a bit of vibrance and then dial back the saturation so we're not overdoing it. Add a subtle S-curve. Lift the blacks a little bit because with night photography, generally if you lift the blacks a little bit, It's that look you go for, right? That everyone goes for. And then now I'm gonna give you the before and after. Then next I go to split toning and I hold Alt. And then I'm gonna slide the hue to be a bit more orange on her face. Then I'm gonna saturate it to bring in some colors. And then I am gonna go the same with shadows, hold Alt to see the full color. Full saturation. And I'm gonna make it a bit more bluish purple. Then I'm gonna increase saturation. And there we have it. Increase the shadows and decrease the blacks a little bit. Maybe I've done too much on the saturation for highlights, so I'm gonna bring that back as well. Tad bit, and the saturation to go with for the shadows. All right, that's pretty much it. Then I take it into Photoshop to do frequency separation, skin retouching. Now, the reason why I do skin retouching using frequency separation, especially for neon portraits, is because at nighttime, most of the details on the skin is already gone. So there's really no, I guess, added benefit to doing dodging and burning for nighttime. Obviously, if you've got a decent camera, then yes, that might be the case, but most of the times the image is noisy, so you won't be able to, I guess, do dodging and burning to bring out the details like your pores and stuff. A lot of it won't get retained, so that's generally why I use frequency separation. Like, I still use dodging and burning to polish it off, but very minimal, and it's usually after I've done frequency separation. Now, for those who don't know how to use frequency separation, I do have a video which I will link down below, and you can download my Photoshop actions, which will save you time on setting up the frequency separation layers, available in the link down below. Okay, let's look at another photo. So here we have a shot of cow. You've obviously seen this from one of my previous videos when we did that shoot. If you haven't checked it out, I'll also leave a link below to the video. So generally, to achieve that same look I did, firstly, I don't like the symmetry of this. So I generally just go to transform. You know, you can fiddle around, but I click auto, see what it looks like. Am I happy with it? Yeah, sort of. I'm gonna use the crop tool and then press O to cycle through the various guides. I mean, it's generally pretty level, but I might rotate it slightly a bit more. And I'm gonna crop off the left side here because I don't like the balance cross here. So I generally judge it by the same length of this to that. Then I'm gonna press enter to confirm the crop. Now what I do here is I change the temp again to really cold. Because nighttime, right? It's usually dark and cold. So that kind of makes sense, I guess. And then what I'm gonna do is go to the purples and then adjust the blues. Then I'm gonna come down to the blue primary and adjust it further more to get that like real blue teal look. Jeez, I do a lot of teal and orange, don't I? Then I am gonna crush the blacks completely, maybe a tiny bit of the shadow. But you don't want to do too much because you want to leave a bit of this sort of detail on the edges to give that glowing effect. I'm gonna dial back the highlights to bring back some of the neon details and the whites as well. Then I'm gonna adjust the blue slightly. I don't like the yellow here, so what I'm gonna do is I'll grab this tool in the saturation panel and I'm gonna drag it down. And same thing with the lumens, I'm gonna grab this tool and I'm gonna drag it down. So I'm gonna try and give the subject a bit more focus by introducing vignetting. So we go to the effects panel and then we slide that down, not too much. Introduce the roundness, feather it a little bit and bring it towards the midpoint. That looks already a ton better. So to disable the effects, we click on this square button in the relevant panel and we disable the effects to see what the difference was. Next I generally just crop 4x5 and then position it higher so that we get most of that yellow out. And then what you can do is you could just go into Photoshop and delete all of that by clone stamping and remove the chandelier as well. That's what I did with my shot. So here's an example of it. So let's take a look at a different portrait. Now this one is of Grace at the East Street Markets. For whatever reason, me and Grace always end up shooting neons. Now, I don't know if it's a Brisbane thing because there's, I guess, not a lot of places to shoot, but it is what it is. I might be wrong because I haven't been to Brisbane for so long, like now that I've moved down to Melbourne. Now, generally I have a color palette I want to work to, but for those who aren't sure what colors work together or just want to have some inspiration, here's a little tip I could show you. Now we could go to color.adobe.com. On this website, you'll see a color wheel and some color harmony rules. There's analogous, monochromatic, triad, complementary, compound, shades, and custom, which I don't usually use. Now what you want to do is choose a primary color. So for instance, if I want the orange to be a primary color, then I grab this one here and I rotate it over to the orange, and of course the complementary color is teal. That's why teal and orange images work so well. And one of the reasons why my edit of I Am Tung's neon portrait works so well is that if you look at Pink Beam, the primary color, the opposite is actually green. What do you know? Watermelons generally have that color as well, and that's why it looks so nice and juicy, I guess. Once you're happy with the color palette, you could go over to the right here and then you save your color theme, which will automatically get imported into your Photoshop if you have the Creative Cloud function. Now what I want to do with this image is want to utilize the neon as being the primary color, and I'm going to make it slightly orange. And like I said before, the complementary color to orange is teal or blue along that line. Firstly, I'm going to change this yellow skin to a bit more orange. So I'm going to go to the hue and I'm going to slide the yellow slider to a bit more orange and the orange slider as well. Then I'm going to go to the purple, which is this, and I'm going to change it to a bit more bluey. I'm going to increase the saturation a little bit with the yellow, not too much, and the saturation of the blue as well. Next I'm going to tone it a little bit, so I'm going to bring the blacks in, lift the shadows a little bit to bring this half of her a bit brighter, dial back the highlights so that her skin's not overly too bright on this side, creating like this really harsh transition, and increase the vibrance a little bit and pull down the saturation. Then I'm going to add an S-curve, again not overdoing it too much because once you do that then yeah, you're on your own there. I might bring back the vibrance a little bit and maybe decrease the yellow saturation on this and shift the blues a bit more to the teal side. Then I'm going to go into split toning, hold Alt for the full saturation, and I'm going to add a bit to it. Not too much, because you don't want to overdo it. Now I don't really like the magenta here along this line. There's too much colors going on, so I am going to go to the magenta slider in the HSL panel, and I'm just gonna adjust it to a bit more reddish, desaturate a little bit, and bring down the luminance. So show you a before and after. So before it looks like this purpley yellow. I mean, it's still an alright image, but then you look over here and it's a nice orange and teal and orange, blue orange, whatever you like to call it. Again, I take it into Photoshop, do frequency separation, and this is what the image looks like. Alright, I'll do one last example. This is Iron Raj here, and this was outside Hana, which no longer exists, unfortunately. But yeah, you can see it's really red. So again, the first step with red neons is, that's right, correct the white balance. hang on, this isn't doing anything. Why? Okay. Now we have to do a bit more extreme changes. So we go to calibration and slide that across to a bit more to the orange. And then we go to the blue primary, slide that across as well. And I might even change the white balance completely. Yep, there we go, boom. Now I'll go back down to camera calibration and maybe adjust it a little bit to the right. Actually, Tommy's already done one of these before, so maybe check out his video as well. I'll leave a link in the description below. So there you have it. Just to recap, the first priority is always to correct the skin color to something decent, and it's usually of the orange tone. The second one is add your own personal, I guess, flair to it. So in terms of like clarity, colors, whatnot, that's totally up to you. But my suggestion is always check out the color harmonies on Adobe Color, because they could give you some sort of indication of what sort of colors that would work together. That's all I'm gonna do in Lightroom. There's more advanced techniques in Photoshop, which I could probably show you in a different video. I'll have all the settings saved as presets available for you to download on my website. I'll leave a link in the description below. Full disclosure though, I shoot on a Sony a7 III, so some of the colors might not turn out the way you expect it to be, as well as exposure settings and lens and all that. So like a lot of variables go into it. And like I said in my previous videos, usually presets only gets you, say, like 90% of the way, and it's up to you as a photographer to make a judgment call on what to change to achieve a similar look. There's always a bit of tweaking. There's no preset that does it all. So just a full disclosure there. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button and make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you want to see more. And if you're not following me on Instagram, it is @_mello.k. That is where I post most of my work. Until next time, peace out and stay mellow.